Yeah, so I'm here to explore the radical sex praxis, particularly Megan Thee Stallion and Young M.A. This is a paper that came out of my critical sexualities course late last semester. And so pretty much my paper pretty much looked at how women in hip hop have provided a nuanced way to kind of discuss their sexual desires, pleasures, and behaviors in rap music that has normally been kind of pushed to the side, or I guess, how can I explain, disregarded in the context of hip hop, considering that hip hop has kind of been a very hetero patriarchal space that kind of validates only the sexual experiences of men. But I really wanted to highlight the range of new contemporary women in hip hop who have projected their own experiences within sex within their music that provides a certain level of agency and autonomy that hasn't necessarily really been looked at in the contemporary sense. And so I think it's really, really great to look at how this is an opportunity to see how female rappers have kind of defined their own terms, considering that we're also living in a very unique era that highlights these representations through social media. And also a lot of these emerging new artists are also independent artists in which they kind of have this freedom to kind of express themselves without these kind of exploitative constraints that major labels may present onto their artists. And so the theory that I'm kind of working with is hip-hop feminism, but also working with Joan Morgan's politics of pleasure. And so pretty much with the politics of pleasure, Joan Morgan asked, what possibilities can a politics of pleasure offer for Black feminist future? And pretty much looking at the ways in which Black women are thinking about desire, they're thinking about pleasure, they're thinking about these inner workings and how it kind of resonates with autonomy and agency in the ways that we have expressed ourselves sexually. And this comes at a time where we think about the historical implications that have been put on Black women when we think about the Jezebel or the Sapphire that kind of put these victimized labels on Black women's inabilities to kind of express themselves. So this politics of pleasure kind of pushes towards these feminist futures that kind of look at the ways that Black women should be allowed to describe their pleasures and desires, and also how can we kind of engage in these conversations and look at the various language that's being produced. And so in this context, applying that with hip-hop feminism allows this kind of critique of heteronormative patriarchy that we see in hip-hop, this kind of pervasive male dominance that's in hip-hop, that's being disrupted in the ways that Black women are now or continuously kind of adding to this narrative of what it means to engage and be a part of the sexual culture. And so pretty much I want to explore, I explore these notions of sexual pleasure, again, autonomy, agency, and desire, looking for this Black feminist future, but more so this hip hop feminist future. And particularly I am looking in this paper, how does contemporary artists inform us about Black women's sexuality and their pleasure. And particularly, I highlighted Megan Thee Stallion's songs Big Ol' Freak and Young M.A.'s Ooze. And I particularly wanted to highlight Young M.A. because they are also a queer artist, which again is shifting these identity politics within hip hop that consistently kind of put this dichotomy of only rappers can be, straight. But now we have this insertion of a queer artist. She also provides her own unique narrative of what she likes when she engages in sex with her partners. And so the literature kind of explores that, again, these historical ties have always been kind of interconnected with the way that Black women have always been victims, of sexual assault, harassment, and these very sexual attachments that come with being a part of the hip hop culture. So thinking about the way that conversations are being had about sex workers and strippers, video vixens, and again, rappers who are talking about sex. But they're disrupting these notions of desire because now we present with this idea with, again, this kind of politics of pleasure that women actually like to fuck. And so the literature also kind of extends this notion that Black women do have sexual freedoms, and then it kind of positions this idea of, I guess, diverging from, invisibility, interiority, but also questioning this idea of privacy, that Black women should also be able to have this sort of privacy to kind of engage in this work in the way that they're describing their sex that may not, again, kind of fit into this normal standard of what topics are being had within hip hop. And then ultimately, I think that with my paper, it really notes at this understanding of respectability politics that a lot of female rappers are only qualified or seen as valid rappers because they aren't talking about sex, or they choose to be more reserved or talk about more political issues and statements that kind of impact Black women. And so again, I think with Megan Thee Stallion and Young M.A. and a lot of other current hip hop rappers are kind of disrupting this norm and this idea that Black women aren't monolithic and have a range of ideas, expressions, and experiences outside of these kind of political stances that come in hip hop, but also they want to talk about their personal experiences in relation to intimacy. And so I think what Joan Morgan kind of hints on is that Black women should have this opportunity to kind of perform their own notions of pleasure, but also in her discussions of hip-hop feminism is allowing this understanding that Black women are also tied to hip-hop as producers, as consumers, and formulations of the culture. So they do have a place in hip-hop where they should, be free to kind of express these possibilities and define and present new language that again kind of resonates with their own sexual experiences, while also kind of disrupting these contemporary and also very historical notions of respectability politics. And so Megan Thee Stallion, what's really great about her is that she's very authentic and assertive about who she is, where she's from, and what she likes to do. And I think why a lot of Black women do support and love Megan Thee Stallion is because she's very carefree. She's a college student, she's a rapper, she's from the South. So she has all of these very nuanced identities that we really haven't seen in a while within hip hop, especially coming from the Southern region. And I think her dominance and her tone and her cadence and the way that she formulates her energy and her music does present a very powerful image when she does start to talk about sex. And so in her song, Big Ol' Freak, she pretty much provides this very assertive and very dominant perspective on what she wants and what she does not want in sex and how she wants her partner to love her. And I think what's very interesting about the song in particular is that she kind of goes against this 90s R&B song that has originally is kind of devoted to kind of loving, being intimate and gentle. But however, Megan Thee Stallion kind of flips this and adds this hip hop twist and this very dominant and confident flair where she, bluntly, says what she wants, how she likes to have sex, whether it's oral sex where she, leaves her boyfriend on read because she just wants just the sex. Like, we understand that she kind of has this control over her sexual desires. And so furthermore, I think what's really great about Megan Thee Stallion's song, we kind of see this kind of incorporation of contemporary issues. So again, she's talking about emojis and what these things mean in relation to how she kind of persuades this kind of sexual interactions within her music. But I think also it's important that, again, she's kind of disrupting this very